Good evening, San Bernardino. I'm so glad that you could join me tonight. We are going to do our city council agenda review for this coming up Wednesday. Got a lot going on, so let me make sure the feed is happening so everybody can jump in. Okay. I hope you all are having a wonderful Juneteenth today, and I hope you guys that are fathers or our kids of fathers had a wonderful Father's Day weekend, and anything else that's going on. I hope you're having a good time with that. So let me make sure you're up and running. Okay, we are live. Hello, Scott. Welcome. Okay. So let's get into the agenda. There's quite a lot going on, a lot of movement. I want us to talk about this and get this in within an hour. So here we go. Okay. Okay, so the meeting is Wednesday at 7 p.m. Closed session is at 5:30 p.m. So. Okay. What is happening? Okay. So I just want to make sure I know the feeds get a little slow. All right, closed session. They are talking about a conference with legal counseling for existing litigation for George Luna versus City of San Bernardino. That is a workers' comp case. And then there is another case, Promise Garcia versus the City of San Bernardino. So if you have any comments on either one of those cases, you can definitely speak out about that. Now, they are talking about the public employee appointment of the city manager. So I want to make sure we're super clear on this. I know I did the recap, but I think we need to stay vigilant as far as this appointment is concerned. I do not like what I've heard Mayor Helen Tran, Councilman Fred Charette, and Councilman Theodore Sanchez are up to as far as trying to put their own personal picks into the mix before we even get to the position of evaluating top candidates. Remember, bringing a city manager into our city that wants to move us forward is so important, and making sure that we have strong recruitments that are good is just as equally important. So don't let this fall to the wayside, because who the next city manager is really going to be important for us. So that's what's happening in closed session. Remember, you can always show up and give your own opinion on that as well. So then at 7, we start the regular meeting. We have the invocation and pledge of allegiance. They are going to do the closed session report. Now, since there's been some discussion, and the council has been vocal, we've had some really great closed session reporting. In fact, last meeting they reported a settlement agreement, how much, and the vote. So what I want to say is, in the moment that I am happy that they're finally disclosing publicly available information, what worries me on the other side of that is, why weren't they sharing this before? Like, why did it have to get to this point, and how much wasn't disclosed? So keep that in mind with the closed session report. I think that's an important piece to it. Then we have the proclamation for Parks and Recreation Month in the city of San Bernardino. Me personally, it is so awesome what our Park and Recreation department is doing. I think Lady Gutfield is just amazing, and her team just continue to push the envelope as far as like services and programming and availability to the community for us to have things. So very awesome for that. Our proclamation for Juneteenth. Today is Juneteenth, so that's wonderful. They're being recognized. And then the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority project update. So that'll be an actual presentation. And then there's going to be a library board appointment of Randy Clyde. So I don't know who's appointing them, it doesn't say. Then the public comments. So this is our opportunity to speak for things on and off the agenda. Unless there's a public hearing, so that'll be separate. The city manager will give his update. Okay, let's look at the consent calendar. So amendment number 2 to the professional service agreement with Spicer Consulting. It's recommended that the mayor and city council of the city of San Bernardino authorize the interim city manager to execute a number 2 agreement to the professional service for Spicer Consulting Group to increase the purchase order by $200,000 to an amount not exceeding $740,000 for as needed consulting related to maintenance, assessment, district administration, and the formation, annexation of community facilities districts and assessment districts. Okay, so here's this thing that I'm having an issue with, and I believe this should be a discussion item for this specific purpose. Here we are creating all of these special districts. Now we're paying, and we can look at the tax revenue versus the fact that right now we're paying $740,000 for someone to consult as related to the maintenance of assessment districts. Are we really benefiting from annexing and I'm not understanding this, and I think it's a good question, or I would hope the council would ask is like, what is the return on this investment? Like, what if we're at $740,000 now, how much are we taking in? And I can't, and I don't want to quote the number, but didn't we just see a number projection on assessment districts not too long ago? I don't think it was that high. So I'm a little worried about this one. I hope someone pulls it. Okay, item number 6, resolution declaring intent to annex territory, a community facilities district number, sorry, I'm in my own way, number 2019-1, maintenance services. It's recommended that the mayor and council adopt a resolution declaring the intention to annex this territory into a community facilities district. So let's look at this as authorizing the levy of special taxes. So this is on page 68. Let's see if it gives us the amount of the tax in comparison to what we're expending. So I'm just going to go down. We don't have to read all that. This should give us. Okay. The rate and method of appropriament of special tax for this tax zone is included in Exhibit C. Okay. The maximum annual special tax for this development has been calculated to be $6,648 per acre. The tax rate is proposed to escalate each year at the greater of consumer price index of 2%. Exhibit H attached to the staff report is a maintenance exhibit to illustrate which services will be maintained. Okay, so I'm seeing $6,640 per acre. We need to go to Exhibit C, fiscal impact. Upon full completion of the development, it's estimated that there will be an annual collection of a special tax revenue of approximately $3,000 to be used to pay for the maintenance costs. Okay. So I'm not saying this makes up the total of the special districts. However, we just saw that taxpayers are expending $741,000 in a contract. And here is, I think, an example where we are literally getting $3,000 from one special tax to be used towards maintenance costs. So let's look at Exhibit C, rate and method. Just want to make sure. I'm going to go a little bit quickly, so hang on. Exhibit B. And keep going. Exhibit tax table, single family, $961. So I don't know. I'm not seeing the rate of return. You guys let me know in the comments what you think. That's a bit low. Like I'm saying, this doesn't account for it all, but I think 3,000 isn't even going to cover, a percentage of that. So, okay. That's why we look at these things. So there's item number 6, number 7, another territory of it being annexed. And let's look at this. I mean, why not, right? We're here. Let's see how much they're looking to recoup. Page 106. So remember, these are not current parcels in the city that we are bringing in, that we will be in charge of. They're going to pay a tax to receive services, but let's look at the fiscal impact. This is $1,261. Again, not what I think personally is enough to support what they're talking about. So, okay. Here we go. That was item 7. Item 8, a professional service agreement and consultation services for broadband strategic master plan. So this is that agreement as the city is talking about collectively with wanting to put broadband throughout the whole city. And right now the consulting costs are $414,000. This to me is quite a bit of money. I think it should be a conversation. I mean, I know that there's grants available, but I really think a conversation would be productive to kind of say like, hey, this is a lot of money that we're just rubber stamping and moving forward. So that's item number 8. Number 9 is amendment to the master agreement with Renee Public Policy Group. And this is to execute an agreement with Renee Public Policy Group to extend and increase the agreement for grant consulting services for the amount not to exceed $86,000. So let's look at this, because my understanding was the city had a consulting grant manager. So yeah, so Mary Alvarez Gomez is the grants division manager. On December 14th, 2021, the city released a request for proposal for grant resources development services, and the professional service agreement was executed in the amount of $46,000. Now, in November 22, the amendment was extended to increase for an amount of $96,250 for a 6-month period through June 30th, which we're coming up to. So we're paying people to write grants for us. We have a grant manager, and we are paying basically almost $100,000 per 6 months. I think, well, let's see. Oh no, $86,000 for an extension for a year. What is it? So $96,000 paid total. What is it that we're getting? I think that's the question. Like, have we received grants under them? I'm not saying they're not a good firm, but again, rubber stamping contracts for consultants. Why don't it look? Here's the thing, and this is what I believe it's important, and I want us to have this conversation. If this is something of which we are constantly expending funds for, why is this not a permanent position? Why are we not paying someone $90,000 a year to write grants as opposed to a consulting firm making $96,000 a year per year? When we would have, I think, greater oversight. So let me know what you think. I'm not seeing comments, but let me know if you guys have anything to say. Okay. Approve the professional service agreement with Cosmont Realty for real estate advisory and due diligence. So let's look at that. Another contract. I feel like this is like bankruptcy years, to be honest with you. Here we are contracting. The city is seeking real estate advisory services from Cosmont Realty for the future disposition, sale, and development of the property located at the Carousel Mall, as well as other potential city-owned property. These services would include initial property due diligence, assistance in achieving surplus land act compliance, and assistance with any public-private negotiations that may follow. Cosmont Realty is a licensed California brokerage firm with extensive experience in property transactions between public agencies and private parties. Okay, now I am in favor of Cosmont. I think Larry Cosmont is a great asset. In fact, when the city had the previous city manager, they didn't want Larry Cosmont. I think had Larry been a part of the process the whole time, as far as the SLA, we wouldn't be in the issue like the problems that we're in now. That's just my own. So I'm glad to see them be a part of it. However, this all needs to be super public. I don't think that it's okay that we're not having a open conversation about the downtown, because remember, they've exited that contract with RDICO. So now we need to have a public conversations. I'm not super okay with this just being like again, a rubber stamp. So here we go. Okay, number 11, this is the minutes from the commissions and boards, just receive and file. Pre-approval of mayor and council travel for 23-24. Let's take a look at that. Item number 371. Where does everybody want to go and what do they want to do? So the League of Cities, the National League of Cities, the California Association of Governance, SCAG, the Transportation Authority, and the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Okay. Now, these are important for them to go. I'm not opposed to anybody going to these things. Let's see how much they want us to pay for them to go to these things. Let's see. Where is the budget? You're giving me all these definitions. I think, let's see. Let me just do a quick scroll. Meals, incidentals, policies. Oh, let's go. Let's go to the budget. It always worries me when there's no budget in the beginning. Okay, so travel request. Wait a minute. I didn't see a budget. Did you guys see a budget? I missed it. I mean, they want to approve travel, but wait, is this it right here? Okay. So city will pay for meals at scheduled seminars. Okay. Oh, you guys didn't see it either. Okay, there's my comments. Good. I thought I was alone. Okay. So here's meals and travel. Dinner, $23 a night, up to $34. Lunch, continental breakfast. Okay. So, all right. So yeah, Ron, you're right. The table is an example. But where is the money? Like, how much is this going to cost us? Now, I know they have their own budgets, but like, how much are we paying? Okay, this is the manual. This is the background. Let me say fiscal. Oh, here we go. Okay, staff is assessing participation engagement at conferences beneficial to the city. Currently, council members have travel and conference budgets of $6,000 each, and the mayor has $4,000. If needed before current budgets are expended, staff will request an appropriation as part of the quarterly budget updates. Okay, so each council member can expend $6,000. The mayor has $4,000. So as long as this falls within that threshold, we shouldn't see anything come back to us. That's a little bit interesting. Let's see. Do you know if monthly, quarterly travel reports are made public to comply with the Brown Act? That's a standard thing. So, Susan, I have normally what they do is they report back, but as far as expenditures, no, those have always had to be requested through public records requests. They do not make them readily available for us. In fact, that is why we had to go through and request the previous mayor's travel expenses because it was just kind of a free for all. So that's a great question. It is not standard practice in our city. So I think we're going to want that and go through the receipts. I think that's, you know, is still equally important not to let up on that. Okay. Where am I? Am I on? Oh, sorry, guys. Okay. Okay. So good questions. Great conversation. Okay, travel, which again, I also don't think should be a consent calendar. I don't think it's just a rubber stamp, but because, right, we're having questions like this and making sure we're doing good. Our regulatory fee rates for fireworks, let's see, 10% for the sales of Safe and Sane. So we're going to start making money on this. I know you guys are already having issues with fireworks in your neighborhood. So am I. People have reached out as far as compliance. What I think the number one thing we need to understand in here is that we are being told as residents, if we do not sign an affidavit saying that we are the ones who called against our neighbors, that there's nothing the police department can do. So here's the thing, and this is for each individual. I'm just going to tell you my own personal, how I am on this. The fee, if someone gets caught, is like 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, right? It's a varying fine. If my neighbor's house burns down, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in this economy to rebuild this house. So if you don't care that you put my property in danger, I don't care that you're going to pay tens of thousands of dollars. That's my own personal opinion. It really comes down to respect. I get it. People enjoy the 4th of July. People like lighting off fireworks. I love watching fireworks. I don't want them going off in my backyard. I don't want them going off in my neighbor's backyard. And I don't think, you know, with the amount of children that have been harmed and killed in our community, that people like literally should think about that. If you're too selfish to consider others, I don't care. I don't care. And what I think everybody has to consider, and everybody's on their own as far as that, like, you know, people are worried about retaliation. Is your neighbor going to pay for your house? If they burn down your home, are they going to pay for it? Are they going to care? So if you want to put those things in ratio of whether or not you want to put your name on an affidavit, that is totally up to you. I think, and I hope, as I had with other neighbors, we went around door to door and said, if we see your fireworks, we will see you in court. And we stood together. So always up for discussion, for something to do, but it does get out of control. It gets scary. We have dogs, we have veterans who have PTSD. There's a lot that goes into that. And I think people don't, they don't take that all into consideration, and it can become selfish. So there's my spiel on that, but you know, you can always come to the meetings and talk about it and kind of voice your concerns with it. Let's see. Francis, take it from me, where a neighbor started a fire that went into my yard. It was a scary thing. The fireworks scare me as well. Yeah. Look, when I first moved here, I had someone shoot a flare into my backyard, and it lit the whole backyard on fire. So the danger is real. It is, and it is just awful. So, you know, you got to figure out who you're protecting and what we're protecting things from. So put your safety first, but put your neighbors on notice. Okay. Number 14, accept the Proposition 64. Oh, wait, I just want to preface. I just want to say this. I have wonderful neighbors. My neighbors are probably like the coolest, best, front, back, side, left. I think the world of them. So I'm not talking about my current neighbors, but like previously, where I was before I bought my house was a very different story. So kudos to my neighbors. Okay. Number 14, accept the Proposition 64 Public Health and Safety Grant and issue a purchase order to Sakuro Data Analysis LLC. Okay, so we are getting a budget of $3 million in both revenue and expenditures. We're going to issue a purchase order in the amount not to exceed $400,000. Okay. And the police department is going to increase staff by 1 management analyst, 1. Okay. Sounds good. That'll be that ground. I do want to talk real quick about, I've gotten some questions about PD's budget and the need for more policing. So in the last meeting, there was a public hearing and we went over the budget for the police department. So PD is almost at their capacity, or if not at capacity, of their allocated amount of officers, which is 297. In this current budget, there was no request publicly that we saw at all where they're asking for more officers. The council didn't say, no, you can't have more officers. They didn't pull the budget back. There was just really, there was no request. And we're doing biannual budgeting, so there was no like amendments. Not to say that if the police department needed more cops or had the capacity to fill these positions, that the council and mayor wouldn't give that to them. But I'm just telling you from the numbers and everything that we saw, there was no like, hey, we're at this threshold and we need more. Now, it's great if we do, but remember, positions, well, when you hold positions, you're holding a certain amount of money that can't be used for anything else. So it's a delicate balance as far as like, hey, we could do 5, we could do 10, we can do this, and where that goes. But that's, since we're talking about budgets, there we are, and positions. Okay, number 15, contract change order approval. Paul Villasenor and Howard Row Libraries in the 1st and 7th Ward, authorizing the finance director to amend the 22-23 capital improvement plan to record a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $260,000-ish from library facilities fund balance and Measure S fund project savings for Villasenor and Row Libraries improvement projects. And they're going to do a change order with US Builders and Consultants in the amount of $440,000 and to be a total amount of about $800,000. Authorizing project construction, project contingencies, and inspection costs for a total not to exceed the amount of $907,000. Okay, so here's this thing about all of this and my issue. This is a lot of movement, $300,000 of movement. And here's Measure S funding. Now, do I believe that Measure S funding should be used to enhance libraries and in facility projects? Yeah, absolutely, I do. But then again, the Measure S committee has not met in a year. And again, Villasenor was found to have black mold and termites, and Daniel Hernandez, the director, completely covered that up and never said anything, and the library was allowed to operate for a long time. So are these costs associated with a complete lack of transparency and pro-action versus reactive, reactive reallocation to cover things up? So there's so much more to this than just we need this money, and if you don't give it to us, you're not supporting libraries. To me, it's, did you do your job and your due diligence in the first place? And if you didn't, are we now $300,000 in the hole? So again, I don't think it's a consent calendar thing, which there is a lot. I mean, look at how in depth this is. So agreement with Superior Pavement Markings for area street sign replacement. It's recommended that the mayor and council Authorize the city manager to execute a maintenance service agreement with Superior Pavement Markings for area street sign name replacement. Okay, I can do that one. Award design service agreement with Guadalupe Field at San Salvador. Okay, I'm gonna say that wrong. Revitalization project in the amount of $183,000. So this is where they are redoing the park. I think I'm good with that. This is the design for Spicer Memorial Ball Field. They're really doing some really great improvements. I think people are going to be happy with it. I've been following this, not too entrenched in it, but I think it's good. Task order issued to Transtech Engineering for augmented engineering services pursuant to the professional service agreement for on-call engineering. We've talked about this a couple times. In fact, yeah, this has been agendized multiple times for other agencies. Okay, let's get into the discussion. I think we're doing great on time. I'm sorry if I'm rushing, but I want us to fill it all in. Approval of the fiscal year operating budget and capital improvement plan. So it's recommended that the mayor and council of San Bernardino adopt this plan. We are going to look at this because remember Chetty Sanchez was like planning, and you're like, calm down. Okay, let's get to the meat and potatoes. Here we go. We're talking Measure S, background. Okay, on June 7th, that's where we're at. The mayor and council held a public hearing to review and discuss the proposed fiscal year operating budget. At the hearing, the mayor and council recommended the adoption of the operating budget. The purpose of the discussion is to review and adopt the proposed operating budget for the fiscal year 24 and capital improvement plan. This is a readoption of the previously proposed 24 budget. Therefore, a thorough budget document will not be presented until the next full biennial budget adoption. I don't like that. I don't like that. A budget in brief has been published in a digital format to outline changes from the previously adopted fiscal year 24 budget. Again, I don't like that. So the proposed budget increase includes the general fund revenue of $208,349,947 in fiscal year 24. This represents an 8.8% increase from the adopted revenue budget of 23 and a 7.3% increase from the originally adopted 23-24 general fund revenue budget. Okay, I get all that. So the general fund, the sales tax, and Measure S, which comprise of 27.8% and 24% of our proposed budget, like we have no say over. Measure S will bring in $51 million. And we're not having any say over this. So a projection of 11 to 9% increases. Crazy, you guys. Crazy. Again, and we have no oversight, nothing. It's problematic. I want you guys to be aware. I think we, because of the disparities as far as transparency is concerned, that we need to move away from this biennial budgeting. That's going to be my recommendation. I don't like that there aren't larger discussions, that things are shifting and they don't think they need to print like the whole thing. So this is, I don't believe or trust Barbara Whitehorn, to be honest with you. I don't. And I think a lot of money is being hidden, shifted, and mismanaged without eyes on this. So that's just my 2 cents. Okay, 2023 State of the City. They want to spend $16,000. Wow. I thought it was a $2,000 budget. Let's take a look at that. This is from Helen Tran. She wants $16,000 presented to the mayor and the residents and businesses. The discussion is, let's see, for 23, the state will be a free event, open to all residents, businesses, and visitors. To accomplish this, a budget of $16,000 is being requested. Okay, let's see what we're doing here. Sound and production rentals. So they want to do this at the Performing Arts Center for 1,700 people. Decorations and props, 4,000. Sound and production, 3,000. Swag bags for 2,500. Food, 3,500. Performers, 500. And photographers, 1,000. Okay. Oh, Ron, I love it. Why can't you just use the library? That's free. You already have the sounds. I don't know why you would need a swag bag to attend the State of the City. It can be live streamed from there. Performers, like, what is this? Siegfried and Roy, what are you performing? What are we doing here? Like, I like, is this an ode to her, or like, is it a red carpet? I'm just, I agree with you. Like, what is this? Yeah, I don't really support all this spending. I'm sorry, but you're giving the State of the City. That's, and look, again, when we look at the budget, when we're looking at capital improvements and the things we don't have, I am okay with not expending. I mean, food, eat before you come, you guys, like, legit. I think we're okay with that. So let's see, 2,500, nobody needs a swag bag. Food, again, just, make it at a reasonable time where people can have dinner and then come. So now we're at $6,000 we've saved. Performers, play some music. So there's $6,500, and a photographer for $1,000. I'm pretty sure you could find someone else. Like, you could save 50% of this budget if you held it at the library. Great point, Ron. If you didn't go have all the extras that are kind of unnecessary. Like, let's be realistic about what it is you're going to tell people. You only been here for 7 months and you haven't done anything. Like, I don't know how long that would take a person. You declared a state of emergency with no plan. You haven't done anything to get anybody off the streets. The budget is in a surplus. You have nothing to do with that. Like, let's move. So anyways, okay. I just don't believe in frivolousness. It's just me. Yeah. Oh, Ron, yeah. Schools would perform free, like, bring the bands, bring the kids for free. Like, just let's be more realistic. Yeah, and exactly 1,700 people. We don't even fill the chambers when there's council meetings, let alone, I've been to what, 3 of these things so far. There have never been a packed house on the State of the City ever. So yeah, I'm looking at your comments. I think we're all like, it's going to be a big Tran opportunity. Yeah, it's really just become, and I think we need to speak to this. You guys have been writing about it. It's becoming nothing more than photo ops. Literally, we stop our council meetings so she can get out of her chair and take pictures. We've done it. Those of you that have sat with me, like, how many? I need a 5-minute break, 10-minute break, and she goes back and does nothing but take photos. Like, I get it. You're really a ceremonious person, but do we all have to sit here and wait for more photo ops? Like, this is crazy. I hope the council's like, look, you get $6,000, do what you will with it, but we have more important things to spend $10,000 on. We could do other things with $10,000. So there we go. Okay, I just can't. All right, so that's gonna be a discussion. We'll see where that goes. A public hearing on the proposed fiscal year annual action plan associated with community block grant, the home investment partnerships. Let's take a look at that. I think this is what, well, I'll get to that part. We're gonna talk about Laura's Law, so don't. I'm so excited about that part. Okay, so this is a public hearing. These are block grants. Let's get into this a little bit more. Here we go. Okay. For 23-24, the city anticipates receiving approximately $3 million in CDBG funds, 1.4 in home funds, and 273,000 in emergency shelter funds. Subject to limitations imposed by the federal regulations, home ESG or CDBG funds must be used for homeowner assistance, emergency shelter, homelessness prevention, housing preservation, economic development, capital improvements, public services, housing development, fair housing, and program management. The city staff reviewed the provider's ability to adhere to federal regulations, meet expenditure obligations, adhere to reporting requirements and expenditures. So they're going to give Inland Fair Housing and Mediation Board, Empedora's, Namaya's Charitable Fund, Neighborhood Services of the Inland Empire. Okay, here's the total breakdown of money. Lutheran Services for Emergency Shelters is going to receive $114,000. Salvation Army, 123,000. Community Action is going to receive 60. Family Services of Redlands, 70,000. Okay. All right. So what fair housing is my question of the day. These are the the nonprofit groups that operate and their missions and all this stuff. So we're going to talk about this in a minute. I mean, we do have to give our funds away, but I think we need to be more strategic at this point. Okay. So let me real quick. Okay. So we'll talk about that. Public hearing. So if you're delinquent on your trash bills, let's go to that real quick. They are going to do a public hearing. You should have gone through an assessment person. There's a lot on here. This is it's standard practice for those that were asking. Like, this is a standard thing. If you have any outstanding bills for trash services, this is where you would go. They go through the collections. They can put a lien on your house. It's quite the, you know, the production. But a lot of people, and this is a couple years ago, went door to door. People didn't even know these existed. So you might want to go through this list and make sure that you're not on here for a reason you wouldn't know, or something would happen. That's just my recommendation. But yeah, it's quite a big list, and yeah, go through it. So okay, I'm just looking. All right, let's go back to the public hearings. Here we go. So they are going to continue the trash rate increase to July 19th. So if you were going to come and talk about that, hang off. But look, you guys, this is what I'm going to tell you. Since January till July, so almost 7 months, the public has every right to protest having their rates not increased. So there's no excuse at this point if you're against having your rates increased while you have not submitted your protest letter. And that's what I'm going to tell you guys as far as that one. Now, future meetings. This is important. So Councilman Alexander is requesting to agendize utilization coordination meetings and franchise fees with Southern California Gas Company. I don't know what that is. And it just doesn't seem, I don't know. All right. Next, the legality of grinding and crushing on site at the Carousel Mall. Councilman member Sanchez. This is huge. This is so big. As you guys know, and I want to share it with you, we protested, or officially, formally, the grinding and crushing in the Carousel Mall, because we know that it's illegal. And so I want you guys to see this letter, and I want to read it to you real quick. This was submitted on June 3rd. It says, Office of the City Manager and City Attorney. This letter is to call your attention to what we believe was a substantial violation of the City of San Bernardino Municipal Code, one which may jeopardize the finality of the action taken by the mayor and council. This, in its meeting of December 7, 2022, the City Council took action to approve the demolition of the Carousel Mall, and with that action approved on-site crushing and grinding. In doing so, the City Council took action as defined by Government Code 549252.6, because a majority of the members took an actual vote when sitting as a body or entity upon a motion. The actions violated the City of San Bernardino Municipal Code, because crushing and or grinding is only permitted in industrial zones per chapter 19.06.030 recycling facilities for reusable domestic containers. Per the Municipal Code chapter 19.0601, the Carousel Mall is zoned as CR1, Commercial Regional Malls zone. There is no crushing or grinding permitted in a CR1 zoning. As you are aware, at the December 7th, 2022 council meeting, Councilwoman Calvin and Councilman Alexander questioned the proposed demolition company on their plan to crush and grind on site. Councilwoman Calvin also questioned Director Hernandez, and he told the council that he notified the bidders that crushing and grinding may be an option, even though it was not permitted in the city at the time the contract was awarded. It is still not permitted. At the March 14th, 2023 meeting, the Planning Commission meeting, during the discussion portion of the agenda item number 4, the ratification of denial of development code amendment 2206, the Director of Community and Economic Development, Nathan Freeman, told the planning commission staff and the public that I can tell you definitively there is nothing in the code that specifically allows crushing on site. There's nothing in the code, and we have taken the position, and our attorney, BB&K, has affirmed that if it is not in the code, it is not allowed. Staff has affirmed that since it is not in the code anywhere in this community, it is not allowed. On May 18th, the Public Works Department confirmed through a public records request that industrial zones are the only permissible zones for crushing and or grinding per chapter 19.06030R, recycling facilities for reusable domestic containers. Pursuant to that provision, Government Code Section 5.4960.1, we demand that the City of San Bernardino and the Mayor and City Council cure and correct the illegally taken action as follows. Rescind the illegal action taken at the next regular scheduled council meeting, and create and publish a new RFP for the demolition of the Carousel Mall that requires all demolished materials and concrete to be removed from the site and properly disposed of at an appropriate facility. As provided by section 5.4960.1, you have 30 days from the receipt of this demand to either cure or correct the challenge actions, or inform us of your decision not to do so. If you fail to cure or correct as demanded, such an action may leave us with no recourse but to seek judicial invalidation of the challenged action, in which the case would be asked to go. We ask the court to order you to pay our court costs and reasonable attorney fees in this matter. We will also file a complaint with the Attorney General's Office and the State Bar Association against BB&K for allowing illegal action to be publicly taken under their legal supervision. So that's what the community submitted. And that's what we're currently dealing with. Now, this is why I believe 100% Theodore Sanchez is questioning the legality, because we question the legality. And look, as I've said before, and as most of us in that letter agree, we believe the mall has to be demolished, right? You can't redevelop without it being demolished. What you cannot do is break the law. You can't do that. in the process. They will pour salt on the ground of the Carousel Mall, and we will never be able to develop it if they don't correctly do it. So I heard, and who knows, that the council, these Sanchez and Charette, who are leading this charge, and you know, they're bosom buddies, like whatever Teddy tells Fred to do, he does. So don't waste your energy. Juan follows along blindly. He can't think for himself. Sandra Ibarra is nothing but a rubber stamp to these. I mean, the four, like you guys call them, the gang of four on the left-hand side, like mindless wanderers. So it'll be interesting. It'll be really, really interesting to see what happens. That's 26. 27, proposed meeting time change. This is the mayor is requesting this. She wants to move closed session from 5:30 to 4 and open session to start at 5:30 p.m. So just my own personal opinion. Well, I do believe the meeting should go earlier. I think 4 o'clock is too early. Like, we want the public to come and be a part of things, or they need to allow, if this is what they're going to do, which I think 4 o'clock is still too early because our council members work. We have to remember most council members don't get off till 5. What I would do is put closed session starting at 5 and open session starting at 6 or 6:30. You can, or, you know, keep closed session at 5:30 and start the meetings at 6:30. Like, you can go a half an hour earlier. And I think you would save a lot of times. And don't stack the agendas. Don't put all these items on one night. Like, be strategic about what you're requesting. So there we go. Okay. That is the agenda coming up. There's a lot going on, but I wanted to make sure that you guys know what's happening. I am going to do a separate update on Laura's Law and the fact that we are now paying John Valdivia's attorney fees with zero public knowledge. They never came forward and approve it. They never discussed it with the public. So again, we're going to have to call that out. And the plan that we need to move, you know, with homelessness. I think there's a lot that's going on in our community and we need to stay vigilant. And then we'll again talk about the legality of crushing and guarding on site. So I'm so glad you guys could join me tonight. I hope that wasn't too much. Let me go through the comments real quick, make sure I didn't miss anything. Somewhat similar to what's developing at the Oxbow. Yeah. So Sarah, yes, what's happening down at the mall is exactly the same nonsense they're trying to pull at the Oxbow, where they know that you're putting the public's health you know, in extreme danger by grinding and crushing on site. We've never done it. It's never been done in this city. Literally just move it, have it processed somewhere else. Mike says the city doesn't have a city manager or interim city manager. We just pay for what. I agree with you. Charles McNeely is a paperweight. I don't see, you know, and I was one of the people like, oh, he's coming back. He'll know. He complained that the charter was what restricted him from, you know, really moving the city forward. It wasn't the charter. It was him. So I agree with you. The asbestos in the air, Fran, is a big deal. I mean, that is one of the biggest reasons. And Sarah also said the silica dust. You can't bring that stuff back. You can't take it out of people's lungs. And the exposure, our city has already gone on the record, has already filed with the courts and said it's dangerous. It's absolutely dangerous. So yeah, but Teddy and Fred don't care, and Sandra and Juan don't think for themselves. So if you know, this is where we're at right now, and that's a problem. And I think what is frustrating is literally Sandra was one of the four a year ago who was like, no, like, we need to clean this up. So I don't know if you just need a friend or what it is, but just the moral compass shifted. Let's see. There's a special meeting that's been called for the end of the month. I haven't seen that. I'll look. I know they're not doing the 4th of July. Maybe that has something to do with it. If they change the times, they should be allowed the public comment to have their 3 minutes. I agree. So like I said, if they change the times, I think they need to open up the call line where people get to call in their public comments. But we need to be fair. Helen Tran does not care about public comments. She doesn't want to hear people. She cuts them. Like, if she could, everybody would have 90 seconds. So I think for her, moving to 4 o'clock and moving to 5:30 is just another move to disregard the public and disenfranchise the people that do come, who have to work. So just to be aware of that, talk amongst your friends about it. So what about the appointment for you? I don't know any appointment for me, so I'm not being appointed to anything. And they would not allow any of the grinding if these particles killed instantly. Yeah. Oh yeah. By the time the count, but here's the thing, and I think this is important as far as, you can sue backwards. I think that's the other thing when these people forget, like, just because, people may get sick over time, but this is why a public record is so vital. This is why I put everything on a video. This is why I go to the council meetings and say these things on public record, because these can be pulled. And ignorance and willful defiance doesn't keep you from going to jail or being culpable. Like, these people must think they're cops with this qualified immunity. They're not. They're elected officials, and they're not above the law, especially when they know they're breaking it. So this is why we got to make sure we tell the truth, why we got to call things out. They may move the time, but I'm coming to the meetings. So whatever I got to do, I will be there. Like, we will make sure that the public is heard, and we're not going to let Helen Tran keep us from transparency and accountability. That's what we're not going to do. She's not the HR director anymore. She didn't get to do that. So just stay aware. Remember, we're here to educate and engage and empower our community. And so I appreciate you guys. If you need anything, special meeting address capital improvement project priorities. Wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much for that. If you guys have any other questions or comments, please put them in the chat, and I will put out when I'm going to do my next live and update. And some of you have asked that we do our own state of the city. I'm here for that. We can do that. We can definitely put a presentation together that won't cost $16,000, and I'll even put a little music in the background. But yeah, let me kind of, come together on that, but we can do something next week. So, all right, you guys have a wonderful night and a good week, and I will see you Wednesday night. Stay safe, San Bernardino.